Here's a little bit of a heads up. It's quite early in the morning. I'm kind of tired and kind of annoyed when I made this, so there is some strong language. So yeah, that's it. Enjoy. Oos. How's it going, people? Sam and Slabber here, and this is a little video talking about legacy mode. Jagex have just made a video on their channel, and they've made a couple of posts, and there's some talk about it in the forums and stuff as well. And basically it's all about this legacy mode. Now, if you haven't heard about legacy mode, in a nutshell, they're trying to bring back old combat into Runescape. Although not quite as you probably would have thought. So they got a post on the front page. It's the poll legacy combat. You can see the video there. It's a good idea to listen to that, as that'll give you a good general idea of what's going on. In a nutshell, this is part of the power to the players kind of poll thing. They're trying to show that it wasn't just them saying, yeah, we'll do this, but not actually do it. They are actually going through with it. So they are trying to get players involved, so they're adding this poll, which is the legacy combat system. Now, the legacy combat system, there's going to be a toggleable button you can press somewhere on the screen. And basically, when you press that, it gets rid of all the EOC abilities. You'll have your weapon skills back. It'll place the layout how it was pre-EOC, and all of like your run and your prayer and your HP and stuff will be up on the mini-map, same as before. And kind of like all the features you had back then. But they are going to try and fix it up, so they're trying to get in line with like the triangle, the combat triangle system. So they're fixing all of that. They're adding dual wield and things like that to it as well, and they're trying to sort all that stuff out. Now you may be thinking, well, this is going to be like another version of RuneScape like 07. Actually no, the legacy mode that they're proposing, they want it to run concurrently with EOC, so you log into the live game and it's entirely up to you when you want to switch between EOC mode and legacy mode. And you can play with, say if you was running legacy mode, you could still play with players running EOC mode, as you'd still be in the same worlds as each other. So there's no separate servers individually for these. Although on that note, they did mention in the video that when it comes to things like PvP, player versus player in the wilderness and things like that, they are considering making separate servers just for legacy PvP and for EOC PvP. Basically, simply because they don't know how it'll work out between the two. So they may end up having some servers mingled between legacy PvP and EOC PvP, just to kind of find out what happens. Obviously it's going to require quite a lot of testing, let's be honest. But while they're talking about this legacy combat though, they did kind of stress that they plan to keep their kind of update schedule the way they have been, so like an update a week or an update a fortnight, the way it has always been. And for this poll itself, it's meant to be available to every single member, so if you're a member you can just go onto the community button in-game, go to the polls and you can vote there. Additionally, free-to-play people, as long as you've made an account prior to 2014 and you're playing on that account, you can actually vote on the poll as well, because it is going to be affecting the free world servers too. Another thing they decided to kind of stress is they do not plan on abandoning the EOC. The EOC will kind of be like the mainstay, their main focus. The reason for this is, well, they got the combat beta right now, which gives you the momentum 2.0 as well as revolution, and they're adding the weapon skills and stuff into the game and things like that as well. So they're obviously still carrying on with EOC. Legacy combat is kind of like a side project, I guess you could put it. Additionally, they did say that all updates and bosses and things that they'd be adding into the game are and still will be geared towards EOC combat. Well, hopefully that actually does happen, because, well, it's kind of taken a step back creating the legacy mode. Honestly, I'll go on to my personal opinion in a minute. Let's carry on. Right, onto the front page. Basically, they give you a nice little, well, I say little, it's quite massive, it's a big old post. And they tell you kind of about all the legacy mode, why they've decided to do it and things like that. So basically, turning on legacy mode will change your gameplay to be like old combat system circa 2012. This includes things such as special attacks, no action bar, no ability, and the type to chat system. It will have the old interface layout with combat info and buttons around the minimap. and with the old side panels in the lower right, plus an option for the old fixed window interface layout. It will not be limited by membership status, world location or server type, and in most cases players of each system will be able to play side by side. There will however need to be a few differences to make it compatible and competitive with the current game, including the additions of stuff like the dual wielding weapons, modern gear, inheriting the combat triangle rebalance system, which improved range and magic combat. There are certain features like the old 138 level formula, which have kind of like a massive impact beyond just legacy mode, for which they'll be needing to work with. And actually, on that note, with the 138 combat level, I don't know how many of you actually troll the forums, but in the forums, I think it's general discussion, or there might be recent updates. There's a sticky in there, and one of the JMods made a little post, and there's a couple of polls on there. I would recommend going over there and checking out and filling in these polls, because it gives them kind of like a rough idea of what to aim for. And these polls pretty much pertain to the combat level formula and kind of like mixing old school RuneScape with EOC RuneScape. It's things like, would you like to see the 138 combat level come back, or would you prefer to have the 200 combat level? Would you like it to be kind of adaptive so people can choose, but it all means the same thing? Or would you like the entire system to switch back to the 138 combat level formula? It's that kind of thing. It's a pretty good poll. I would go and check it out if I was you. So moving on then, how will this legacy system be made? Well, in their words, this is an ambitious vision and we don't have all the details worked out yet. This is where you come in. We'll need the guidance of the community to make sure legacy mode delivers the old style of combat you're after. If the legacy mode poll succeeds, we'll start to develop this feature in collaboration with you, publishing our work in progress codes to the beta servers, where you can then test it out. They'll be using forum input to get the requirements and running beta polls to measure whether the various elements are meeting your expectations. So basically they're going to be taking your information about bugs, fixes, things you'd like to see improved, etc. from the forums. So same old pretty much. And at the bottom of the page they do have an FAQ and the development blog, which I've actually got right in front of me now. So basically they talk about how they came about this version. Basically they made a They made a survey which asked about specific features within the EOC. PvP was rated poorly at 22% of the populace satisfied with it. The combat level calculation got a middling rate of about 48% people satisfied with the new system. And PVM and weapons scored massively highly at 70% satisfaction. So the survey showed a broad spectrum of opinion, no clear majority, and a varied mix about views of different elements within the game. So in a nutshell, the vast majority of players in EOC think PvP is kind of crap. Well, yeah, let's be honest, it is kind of power. And then the combat level calculation, half people think they want the old version, half of them don't particularly care, or just kind of like this one, either way. And then everybody kind of likes the new PVM and weapons and stuff like that. Which honestly, I totally agree with. I kind of think PvP is a bit meh. It's not bad, it's a lot better than it used to be, in my personal opinion. The reason for that is simply because old PvP was quite literally you stand there, you click on someone, wait until they get a half health, and then whack a special, and hopefully you hit high as shit. If not, everyone just runs away like pussies. That was the old PvP system. It is entirely based on luck. It's fucking shit. But at least with this, it does include a bit of skill, because if you go against someone with a shield, it's quite a bit of a different fight compared to someone dual wielding, for example. And because the combat trials are kind of fixed, I say fixed, there's not as massive amount of discrepancy as kind of before. The combat level calculation, I don't even know where to stand on that. Honestly, it's something or nothing, let's be honest. I've played RuneScape fucking ages, so I'm used to the old 126 and then the 138. So personally, I kind of prefer the old version, because at least with that, the combat level did kind of show you kind of exactly how strong someone was, in a way. If they had a high combat level, then you knew most of their stats are going to be high. And if they was around 80-ish, and they was equipping high level gear, you know they're a pure. It's that kind of thing. But with the 200 combat level, it's like, yeah, they've got 299s, but or at least 299s, but you've got no idea what the rest of the skills are like. Doesn't really give you a good idea, but then again, it might just be biased because I'm used to the old version. But PVM and weapons and stuff though, and the new weapons and armor system, honestly, it is a hell of a lot better than before. I mean, they've changed PvP up, so now it's, I guess, against kind of like mid-bosses and stuff, it's kind of annoying, but then if you're high enough level to go solo the, like, God Wars dungeon bosses, and you're getting loads of kills anyway, you can't really moan about it, because the fact of the matter is you can momentum the God Wars bosses if you're high enough, so it's exactly the same as before. And on top of that, they're now in the combat beta, which, yeah, this kind of makes no sense to me, the legacy mode. Honestly, the combat beta is adding momentum 2.0, which basically allows you to use ultimates and your weapon skills whilst keeping like the momentum power. So you're hitting hard and you're still in momentum, yet you can use your weapon skills and stuff. Now, is it me, or is that literally old school RuneScape combat? In all seriousness, that is old school RuneScape combat. The only difference is the interface is different because it's the EOC. That is the only difference I can actually think of. Now, a lot of people are probably going to be pissed at me and moaning and shouting and throwing on the hate, but honestly, I don't see the reason for legacy mode. The only thing I would like from legacy mode is possibly the interface. And that's pretty much it. And that's only when I'm like skilling or something like that. Because I'm used to using the F keys to switch between windows and stuff, but now that I can customize it, I can just turn them on and off whenever I want with whatever button I want. So yeah, it doesn't really bother me, to be totally honest. The one thing I did kind of like about old interface though is the fact that like your HP and prayer and run were all up on the minimap, and I still find myself looking at the minimap to find it rather than looking at the skill tab. So yeah, other than that, I don't see any particular need for the legacy mode personally. They've got Momentum 2.0, which is literally old school RuneScape combat, and they've even added Revolution, which is basically Momentum 3.0. You can still use ultimates, you can still use weapon skills. In fact, it automatically uses your basic abilities in your action bar. It's basically, I suppose in a way, a bot is the easiest way to put it. Obviously you're going to need to click on the screen to click on monsters to go attack X and Y and whatnot, but yeah, your weapon skill, all your skills, your abilities and stuff, they're all being spammed as soon as they're ready, and whenever you want to throw out a threshold or something specific, you can do so. And even then they've added the, I can't remember what you call it, like the store system where you press a button and it'll wait until it's ready and then it'll use it automatically for you. They've added that as well with the combat beta. So yeah, I don't know, this update is utterly pointless, in all fairness, in my opinion. It just seems utterly pointless. The only thing this is going to add is if they move it back to 138 combat formula, or 136, whatever the hell it is, 138 I'm pretty sure, and if they add the old interface. That's pretty much the only thing you're going to gain from legacy mode. Because the fact of the matter is, legacy mode is going to run concurrently with EOC, which basically means everyone is on the EOC servers, except for you can choose between using legacy or EOC. Which, once Momentum 2.0 has been added, basically means exactly the same as what we're doing now. You're all in EOC, but some people are using Momentum, some people are using the actual skills. Which is exactly what the game is right now. Legacy mode is a completely redundant feature. There's no point wasting man hours in it. It's already in the game. The only option they should be adding out of that is, would you prefer the old interface? That's it. That is the only new thing coming from this legacy mode that I can see, even after they've talked about it. Although maybe I'm just missing something entirely. No. Just no. I really don't understand why it's being added. It makes no sense. But that's your legacy mode anyway. They're adding all of that crap, and you can make a poll on that. There's a couple of polls in the forum I would check out though for the old combat system formula and things like that. There's a few interesting polls going on and general discussion, stuff like that. Now the combat beta is coming forward. They fixed a few things and they're taking bug reports and anything you recommend as well. So if you are playing about with the combat beta, it's a good idea to jump in there to see kind of what people are moaning about and test rollout and stuff. And if you find something that needs to be added, chuck it in there. You never know, they might actually add it. Yeah, in a nutshell, that is the legacy mode. And as you can probably guess from that last little moment, I'm not a fan of it. It seems utterly fucking pointless. In all honesty, the time they'd spend on that, I'd rather see them either make more quests or add a boss or something along those lines, or add a new system. There we go. So yeah, that's that. Legacy mode is coming. And I'm doing piss poorly at sinkholes. 3rd place twice. Bad times. So yeah, that is it. You can check out all of this information on the front page of Runescape. It is directly in front of you. It's the poll about legacy mode. The video from the channel is also posted there, so you can check that out, and underneath is everything you need to know. At the bottom of that front page you'll also find the FAQ and the developers blog, and I would go and check them out so you get a better idea of what is going on. Other than that, that's pretty much it. So you've all been informed, people. So until next time, I will catch you all later. Troll on. Troll-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Troll-la-la-la-la. Troll-la-la-la-la. I still haven't finished my rant, let's be honest. This has annoyed me to no end, although it could just be that it's like 5 o'clock in the morning and I should have been in bed like 8 hours ago. Whatever. Basically, legacy system is adding the old system prior to EOC as well as the old interface, right? That is, in a nutshell, what it is doing. Right now, in EOC, at least after the combat beta has been added into the game and it becomes a part of EOC, you got Momentum 2.0. Now, Momentum 2.0 gives your normal attacks high damage, which is basically what is going to happen in Legacy mode. On top of that, whilst doing your normal damage, you can use your weapon skills same to prior to EOC. Momentum 2.0 does exactly the same fucking thing. Additionally, Momentum 2.0 allowed you to use your ultimate abilities as well as your weapon skills, which basically makes it better than fucking Legacy mode, let's be honest. Yeah, I know my language is getting bad, I'm tired, fuck off. But then some of you may moan like, yeah, but I'm on the old interface. Personally, I kind of like the old interface as well. But let's fucking be honest, you can sort out the old interface way in EOC. You have your chat bar down in the bottom left, as you can see on screen. That's how I've got it. The only difference being then is down in the bottom right, where I've got my inventory right now, you have all of your tabs in there. So your prayer, your defense, your range, your melee, your mage, your inventory, everything goes in there, and you just make the square a little bit bigger. That is exactly the same as the old school interface. The only difference is there isn't buttons there for you to click. Instead, you use your F keys, which you can customize to whatever fucking key layout you want. And then if you're moaning about, oh yeah, but the abilities are on screen, because that is one of the features of Legacy mode, let's be honest, they did mention it specifically, it'll hide your abilities. See that little fucking minimize button on your EOC abilities? You can click that cunt. It does exactly the same fucking thing. So all in all, the interface can be pretty much mimicked, especially if you lock the interface as well, by the way, that's probably a good idea. The old school abilities, being able to use a weapon skill with your normal attacks, will be in there as soon as the combat beta is done, Momentum 2.0, but it's even fucking better because you can use the ultimate abilities, so why are people moaning? Although probably no one is moaning, I'm just ranting, don't worry. And then you can hide your abilities anyway by clicking fucking minimize, and you can put your HP and your prayer and your combat, auto retaliate and your summoning and your runs already up there, and you can put it all right next to your fucking compass. Or your minimap even, compass. Fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. You can check it all up there. So basically in EOC, as soon as the combat bit is done, you've got Legacy mode without having to make an entirely separate toggleable system for Legacy mode, which will take up I don't know how many people's time, so they'll chuck on a few people to actually try and create Legacy mode, then they've got to code it, and then they've got to test it. Then they've got to release it onto the beta servers to see if the player base can find any bugs. Then they've got to improve it again. The community managers are going to have to look in the forums for updates if anyone's noticed any bugs or anything that needs to be improved, or any ideas that would be a great addition to Legacy mode. It's wasting people's time. That time could be spent on making new stuff for the game or fixing stuff that is broken at the moment. Half the minigames no cunt plays because, well, the rewards are shit. That, or just no one does them full stop. How about that farming minigame over in Brain Death Oil or wherever the hell it is, over in that area, east of Mauritania? I actually had to run around and convince people to come with me to go to that area just so I could pick up the fucking music file for the comp requirement. No one is there. Not in any world. Do you know how many worlds you had to skip through for that? Oh, that's another thing entirely. Never mind. But yeah, they could spend their time making a boss. Or they could add the new inventor skill. Or they could take the people who would be working on Legacy and they could work on inventor skill. Or the Elf City. Or a new quest update they plan on doing. Or a minor ninja fix or something like that. Those people could be put to better use elsewhere. Let's fucking be honest. Legacy mode is already in the fucking game. Why are they adding it? I'll go to bed.